One of the things that kept me going during the strange, stressful year of 2025 was the steady stream of fascinating games. Every month, there was something new and exciting to look forward to, another world to explore, and mechanics to tinker with. At the end of the year, there are plenty of games that I want to recommend, and I figured, why not? Everyone else makes year-end lists, I want to make a year-end list, so here it is. Of course, there are plenty of games that I wasn't able to get around to, so maybe this isn't so much of a best of list and instead a list of recommendations. This is a snapshot of the games from 2025 that I enjoyed in 2025. If you see something that looks interesting to you, just know it gets the dot seal of approval, regardless of where it falls on the list. And you know what? Let's just do a bunch. Why not? I don't care. Let's go! Have you ever seen something from another culture or time period and had trouble understanding it? All the imagery makes sense to someone, just not to you. Keeper feels like this. A sentient, spidery lighthouse and its bird friend travel across the ruins of a long-lost civilization. The lighthouse comes to life and starts walking somewhere. It feels like it's full of references to historical events and mythological creatures, except it's not. It's a wholly original adventure featuring every color, including those extra colors that only Shrimp can see. Mechanically, the game is rather simple. The left stick moves the lighthouse and the right stick points its beam in a specific direction. By shining the light and/or directing the bird, the lighthouse can move past the roadblocks in its path. Each new area introduces some new mechanic that is only used in that specific area, which adds some variety. The challenge comes from figuring out how the logic of this world works, though it never becomes especially taxing. The main selling point of Keeper is its world building and presentation. The game doesn't hand over control of its camera, so each shot is designed to squeeze as much color and personality out of the environment as possible. Each time the camera cuts, the game reveals some new creature or plant or something. This game is out there, but it's not nonsense. It's like watching a colorful experimental foreign film without any subtitles. Except Keeper has no words, but you get what I mean. Without spoiling anything, there were several times midway through where I had to double check and make sure that I was still playing the same game. Keeper pivots to new ideas time and time again, while keeping that simple control scheme at the forefront. Though I did feel like it ended right as soon as it was picking up steam. I get what they were going for, it just kind of felt like, oh, that's it I guess. But then again, that came after a kaleidoscopic odyssey, so it is what it is. I do think it's hilarious that this is the first game Double Fine has made completely under the Xbox umbrella. It's something strange and silly and not really marketable, and I am here for it. Phil, if you hurt Double Fine, you're not seeing heaven. I don't make the rules. You are a perfect shape. That's what the theme song for To a T says, but for its main character, it sounds like hollow condolences, empty love yourself mantras. The kid in To a T has two problems. They have to deal with the stressors that come with being 13 years old, and they can't put their arms down. To a T follows a kid eternally locked in a T-pose. They block other kids on the stairway, have to deal with endless teasing, and they need help doing everyday tasks. The game follows them and their trusty puppy across several strange and surreal days. The game tasks the player with moving through their day-to-day life while being unable to move their arms. Activities such as brushing teeth, eating cereal, or surviving school are presented as small minigames. At first, these tasks feel awkward and cumbersome, but by the end of the game, they're second nature. That might sound mundane, but believe me, this game goes places. It is whimsical and surreal, with each chapter introducing new strange happenings in this quaint seaside town. You cannot guess how this game ends, that I can promise. To a T is a commentary on living with a disability, and I appreciate how well they handle the subject matter. The goal of the game isn't to fix their T-shape, nor is it a vehicle for another character to learn tolerance. Their T-shape is a part of who they are, but it's not all of who they are. To a T tells the story of what it's like to not fit in, socially, emotionally, and in some cases, physically. It's about how to find self-love in a confusing, nonsensical world. Also, the creator of Steven Universe plays a singing giraffe chef, so there's that. You're faced with a conundrum. Do you get a job, or do you save the world? A scathing satire on corporate culture, late-stage capitalism, celebrity worship, police states, and more, Peppered, an existential platformer, is a hilarious and clever romp through this hell we've created. When the story begins, the player character is in the middle of a job interview. Are they worthy of getting coffee for the employees of this office? Maybe, but should they? From its opening moment, the story splinters in every direction. Just about everything in Peppered affects how the story unfolds. Make a choice, it'll affect things. Win a battle, it'll affect things. Lose a race, it'll affect things. An ending can happen in like 5 minutes, or it could come after over 2 hours. It's not a very long game, but it's a very wide game, if that makes sense. Peppered is best experienced over the course of multiple runs as you explore the true breadth of its narrative. And that narrative is totally worth exploring. The writing and visual comedy in this game is just immaculate. Though its controls are just a touch slippery for my liking, especially for a game with platformer in the title. It takes a little trial and error to get used to the weight of everything. To be fair, the game doesn't throw any over-the-top Kaizo challenges at you, but the stakes are high. Remember, how well you do affects how the story plays out. Peppered feels overwhelming in the best way possible. It illustrates the want and need to change, how the issues plaguing society could be fixed, but people still need to go to work, and all the jobs that seem to pay well are at companies that are up to no good. The apocalypse will be really stupid, and our overlords will be losers. Peppered might not be my favorite 2025 game, but it is the most 2025 game. I love Lego. I also love my wife. This year, I played a Lego game with my wife. It was fun. Lego Voyagers is a co-op puzzle game about building stuff with those trusty bricks. Each player takes control of a single stud Lego brick that work together to traverse charming plastic environments. Look at the crabs! The game presents a series of challenges that are overcome by building something. Maybe it's a bridge, maybe it's a catapult, maybe it's a railway, it could be anything. These puzzles are less about solving problems in the way the designers intended, and more about using your own creativity and teamwork to get where you need to go. Everything in LEGO Voyagers is designed with the limitations of physical LEGO bricks in mind. Each location can actually be built using real-life LEGO pieces. I'm kind of surprised they haven't sold their main island as a set yet. This also means that the structures can break apart and are subjected to real-world gravity. Sometimes this is what you want, sometimes not. LEGO Voyagers is a rather forgiving game. If you fall off the edge of the map, you'll appear right where you were before. No fuss. You will always have the pieces you need to make it where you need to go. Sometimes things will be a little cumbersome to control as a team, but it's so delightfully derpy, it doesn't even matter. Like a lot of recent co-op games, it accommodates players of all different skill levels. Through its whimsy, LEGO Voyagers carries a wordless story about what it means to follow your dreams. How that's a noble cause, but it's not without its setbacks. A long-time friendship can take many different paths. LEGO has always positioned itself as the toy for everyone, and LEGO Voyagers follows suit, building an experience worth sharing with all types of player twos. It's easy to forget that we're living in a world with Monument Valley. This elegant little puzzle game based around impossible geometry and optical illusions jumped onto many mobile devices over a decade ago. Now, Us2 Games has returned with yet another journey across an Escher-like dream world. Like the previous games in the series, Monument Valley 3 is an endlessly clever puzzle game that tasks the player with navigating structures that simply can't exist, yet they do. By manipulating the environment, the player helps their character navigate this world where silly little things like gravity and object permanence don't exist. There were many times I cackled at how clever these puzzles were. Untangling each micro maze was simply delightful. The puzzles aren't designed to break your brain, rather they're there to give you a series of aha moments. The art direction is quite possibly the best the series has ever been. Each level's limited color palette is eye-meltingly beautiful. The sharp geometry is clear and pleasing. There's this level based around negative space that's unspeakably beautiful. This time around, there's a real attempt to branch Monument Valley into more than just a series of puzzles. The structures are visibly connected, and the story, while simple, takes a larger role this time around. Annoying people might mention how this game technically came out in 2024, but to that, two things. First, it came out in December on Netflix. It came out on PC and consoles this past July. And also, this game has doubled in length through a new update called The Garden of Life, which added 4 new chapters and over 20 post-game puzzles. I had a great time with Monument Valley 3. I kept coming back to the word elegant to describe it. The way it looks, the way it plays, the way it sounds, it's all just so pristine. If you're looking for a chill puzzle game or something to relax to on a rainy afternoon, Monument Valley 3 will come in handy. My favorite movie of all time is Madadayo. It is the final film from legendary director Akira Kurosawa. It follows a teacher in the years after his retirement, framed around several class reunions. Kurosawa is better known for his action films though. Seven Samurai, Yojimbo, Ran, Kagamusha, that one scene in Redbeard. The only person I've ever met who didn't like Kurosawa is now in federal prison. That's true. What was I talking about? Ghost of Yotei is the follow-up to Ghost of Tsushima, an open-world epic set in the historic Japanese countryside. It is a pastiche of classic samurai films, such as the ones from Kurosawa, while being decidedly its own thing as well. Ghost of Yotei follows a woman avenging her family, traveling across Hokkaido in search of these culprits. First off, the presentation. Do I even need to say anything? Ghost of Yotei squeezes the most color out of every frame. The sun is always in the right place, creating beautiful scene after beautiful scene. Meanwhile, the combat is fast and chaotic. By default, there is no lock-on, which puts a greater emphasis on spatial awareness. You can only take a handful of hits, so blocking, parrying, switching weapons, dodging, breaking stances, you have to be on your toes at all times. Sometimes stealth is the way to go. While it does feature well-worn tropes like opaque tall grass and guards who conveniently never look up, you can do this. So what are we even talking about? This game's open world feels rather inviting. While, yeah, a lot of people in it want to kill you, the world itself unfolds rather easily. I didn't get the sense that the world was hiding anything from me. It wanted me to find the next altar, mountain, hot spring, or fox den. This game has a nice pace that just draws you into its world. It's alarmingly easy to get sidetracked. Oftentimes, I would point to a place on the map, only to find a half dozen new things along the way. Since none of these side activities take too long, it makes it feel like you really accomplished something, no matter how long you explored for. This is just such a great game to boot up at the end of a long day and just chill with. Sometimes, you need a game like that, you know? It's the summer in the early 2000s. You just got your first car, a festival is happening somewhere far away. The road stretches out in front of you. Now what? Keep Driving is a resource management RPG framed around a road trip. The player will need to make sure they have enough cash in their wallet, space in their trunk, food in their belly, days on the calendar, and gas in the tank to make it to the next town. This might sound contradictory, but Keep Driving is one of the chillest games I've played in a long time. You're pointed in the direction of a festival, but the road trip can unfold in any number of ways. Maybe it's more interesting to pick up a hitchhiker and take them where they want to go. Maybe you'll receive a piece of mail that will change your goal completely. It might not look like it, but this game has turn-based combat. When running into an obstacle, such as a flock of sheep, an old person driving slow, an overzealous traffic cop, or approximately 6 billion P-breaks, the game will present a puzzle to solve. You'll have to use your available abilities, which are all customizable, to match your icons with your opponents. Do so, and they clear. Miss one, and your car takes damage. It's a simple system with a surprising amount of depth. Hitchhikers can assist with the battle, and each one has their own abilities. But hitchhikers also carry their own baggage, figuratively and literally. There's quite a bit of randomness in this game, not just with the battles, but with the people you meet and the places you'll go. Keep Driving, as the title implies, is all about learning to just roll with the punches. Follow those whims. If something great happens, cool. If things don't go to plan, it'll be okay. This game feels massive. There are so many possibilities, so many moments that can either be seized or passed by, so many routes to take across its map. A playthrough only takes a few hours, but each subsequent run will be a brand new experience. There are so many decisions to make, so many unknowns, yet there's only one road ahead. Just keep driving. College is weird. You spend your teenage years figuring out who you are, only to transplant that version of yourself in a new context with new people. And sometimes there are demons. Well, hopefully not, but the chance is never zero. The university and demon school is perched atop a remote island with a pesky hellspawn infestation. A ragtag band of freshman demon hunters try to get to the bottom of what's going on. Problems will be solved violently. Demon School is a tactics game, though that moniker might give the wrong impression. I found its battle system mesmerizing. The player maneuvers their characters to knock out their opponents as efficiently as possible. After planning, all actions will be performed at once. A bunch of demons can be turned into geysers of gore in a single go. The battles feel Nintendo-esque in difficulty. Getting through them is straightforward. There's plenty of room for trial and error. But players looking for a greater challenge can aim to get a good grade in each encounter. There isn't a leveling system, so each battle is presented like a puzzle to solve. It's kind of like Paper Mario the Origami King, though Demon School does it significantly better. That's why I hesitate to call it a tactics game, even though it is. The game is a linear affair. It takes place on a set calendar, and on each day, some sort of event will happen, usually culminating with a battle or two. In between those story scenes, the player can explore the island where they can take on extra fights, do a whole slew of minigames, and spend time with their teammates. The game's pace is snappy, always moving forward. Demon School's cast is the most convincing group of college freshmen I've ever seen. They're not friends exactly, at least at first, they just have a few overlapping interests. This leads to some great character interactions, some of which feel a little too real. This is actually how my friend group talks. It's a little creepy how accurate it is. So much of Demon School feels streamlined. It knows what it's good at and gets to that stuff as efficiently as it can. It sidesteps systems that have been RPG staples for decades, yet I never miss them. It puts the focus on what's important, setting them up and knocking them down. On July 30th of this year, I released a video about sequels that are so good they more or less ruin their series. The original germ of that idea came from one of my personal favorite games. We love Katamari. The Katamari series hadn't had a new mainline game in over 14 years, so I felt okay eulogizing this wacky series of sticky ball madness. On July 31st, a new Katamari game was announced. And you know what? Once Upon a Katamari is the best the series has been since the PS2 era. Seriously, everything I was talking about in that video was addressed in this new game. This game plants a flag and declares, there is so much gas left in the Katamari tank. The basics of Katamari are simple. Roll a sticky ball around an environment. If you come into contact with something smaller than it, it'll stick, making your ball larger. Chaos ensues. It's great. That hasn't changed. But Once Upon a Katamari expands upon the franchise by introducing time travel. Rolling in different eras adds variety to these sticky ball playgrounds. There are more environments to explore and destroy, and they all feel distinct from one another. Beyond that, this entry introduces a whole bunch of new ways to roll. There are so many new ideas on display here. Even level concepts that have been done before are presented in ways that make them feel fresh. This is by far the largest Katamari game, and it all feels so alive. Once Upon a Katamari implements the items introduced in earlier entries a lot better too. There are also plenty of secrets to find, challenges to chase after, and a clear ranking system for each stage. This game is bursting at the seams with new ideas. As a longtime fan of the series, this is honestly just fantastic. Personally, it was kind of weird to spend 2 months working on a video about how they don't make Katamari games anymore, only for it to be outdated in a day. But you know, maybe there's something to this. Perhaps I have the power to summon games by saying that they will never happen. So, what I'm getting at, if you want that Bloodborne remaster, hit up that Patreon and I'll see what I can do. If we reach, 250 paid members, I'll make a video about how we will never get a Bloodborne remaster, or how Bloodborne is better off being left forgotten or something. And then it'll get announced. Maybe. I'll do what I can. Patreon.com/IamAdot. And while we're here, let's take a detour to talk about something really cool happening over on Patreon in 2026. I'm about to embark on a huge project about one of the most stacked years in video game history, 2007. I'm going to play and analyze a bunch of games from that year in a new series, the 2007 Project. If you'd like to join me on this journey through history, check out the I Am a Dot Patreon. The first episode, about Super Mario Galaxy, will drop the first week of 2026, with episodes coming all throughout the year. Okay, back to the list. Part superhero flick, part choose-your-own-adventure story, part raunchy comedy, part management sim, Dispatch carved out a nice little niche for itself. It follows a recently out-of-commission superhero, one without any powers, as he starts a new desk job dispatching heroes to crises around the city. He'll have to manage his team's actions, their fragile egos, interpersonal drama, and his own emotional baggage. Dispatch presents itself like a season of TV, with the story unfolding over 8-hour-long episodes. And it feels like a TV show too, with some of the most elaborate and wonderfully directed cutscenes I've ever seen. Around half the game is made up of these cutscenes, where the player can influence certain aspects of the story. The other half is the actual dispatching. Somewhere in the city, a citizen will have a problem. Based on the description of the issue, the player will have to send out a hero or group of heroes to take care of it. You'll never have a superhero that will meet the requirements exactly, so you'll have to make the best with what you have. This turns every dispatch into a gamble. Send only one hero and it might fail. Send more than one to build your odds, and you might not have who you need when the next crisis happens. It's just deep enough to be fun without getting overwhelming or taking away from what's ultimately important: the story and its menagerie of misfits. And the story is fantastic. I'm not the biggest superhero guy, but it stays true to what's ultimately important: the characters and their relationship to one another. While the story can change in places based on dialogue choices, the main beats will always be the same. This is both a little irritating, more than once I felt like my choices were being railroaded, but it's also comforting, knowing you can't really mess up everything. There might be more to discuss about this game in the future. Who's to say? If you're looking for an R-rated superhero story that has a lot of heart and doesn't take itself too seriously, give Dispatch a try. Silent Hill F doesn't look like a Silent Hill game. It has a different aesthetic, it has different combat, it's not even set in Silent Hill. Yet, this is the best the series has been since the team's Silent days. And even though it might not share a lot of surface-level similarities with those older titles, it carries the spirit of its namesake. The game follows a girl surviving the strange happenings of her rural Japanese town in the early 1960s. Most of the people are missing. Those few who remain are acting strange. Red weeds consume everything. Creatures roam the alleyways, and there's fog. Lots of fog. The game is filled with slow, weighty combat, off-putting puzzles, and a dark, disturbing story that unfolds beautifully. I think it was a bold choice to have this game cover the subject that it does, and it does so in a thoughtful, mature way. It's a situation where there aren't any clean answers, and emotions are mixed. This game's combat has gotten some flack, but I think it works for a survival horror joint. It uses exclusively short-range melee combat, and it always puts the player at a disadvantage. Or at least, that's what it feels like. The game rewards efficiency and patience, things that are hard to come by when a bunch of personal demons are chasing after you. The most interesting thing about this game is also my biggest hang-up. This game is structured a lot like Nier Replicant. After the first playthrough, New Game Plus opens up where things are different. Earlier moments will be recontextualized in fiendishly clever ways. Though the actual game remains mostly the same until the very end, and to get the true ending, you need to do at least a third run. Unlike Nier Replicant, there isn't any way to skip the old stuff to get to the new stuff. The changes in the subsequent runs are really cool, and totally worth experiencing to get the full story, but it's locked behind several hours of replaying stuff you've already done. Despite that hang-up, this is a solid survival horror game that is equal parts brutal and beautiful. It tackles topics I haven't seen a game do before, and for that, it comes highly recommended. Despelote is the closest I've come to stepping into someone else's memories. In the early 2000s, Ecuador found itself on the cusp of qualifying for the World Cup. Football was on the top of everyone's mind as the country cheered on their national team, even though it faced economic hardships. But Despelote isn't about that, really. The game follows a kid named Julian during these small snapshots of time. It captures the feeling of having to sit in class, but really you're just thinking about recess. You have to go to some family gathering, but man, you just want to watch the game. Its world is filled with characters who you only see a little bit, yet feel fully realized. Beyond that, Despelote features quite a bit of unstructured play. In each chapter, Julian will be left to his own devices for a short amount of time. He can explore, he can play with other kids, he can play football even if he doesn't have a football. There are no defined objectives. The only goal is to play. The game adopts usual first-person dual analog controls, though the right stick is also used to kick. This means that the player never has to take their thumbs off the sticks. Kicking is just as ingrained as walking and looking. The presentation looks like nothing I've ever seen before. It's presented in first person, but with only 2 colors visible at a single time. Characters are illustrations drawn over top. I'm pretty sure the streets and parks and town squares are laid out how they actually are in Quito, Ecuador, where the story takes place. The sound design is immaculate. Dialogue lines overlap, music echoes from distant radios, the ambience of each location adds so much to each scene. It feels like you're both of the world and not. Despelote is a memoir. Julian is a stand-in for one of the developers, and it feels like a collection of memories. Fuzzy and vague in some places, but accurate in others. Beyond that, it does some inventive things with the memoir format. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's really cool. Despelote is also home to my single favorite moment of gameplay of this past year. If you've played it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you will know it when you see it. Despelote is not a long game, it's about the length of a movie. But ever since I played it, I haven't been able to get my short journey through space and time to Quito in 2001 out of my mind. There are 2 ways to talk about South of Midnight. This is a game the likes of which have never been seen before, while at the same time it's rather straightforward in its execution. This is a voyage through the American South, told with a healthy dose of magical realism. The folklore, the environments, the characters, and the history of the region come together to create a beautiful world that is a joy to explore. Though it doesn't shy away from the harsh reality of that corner of the country. South of Midnight uses folklore in a way that feels true to what folklore is. The creatures seen in this game reflect aspects about its world, aspects that aren't always easy to fully communicate. It gets at some very real, very heavy topics without becoming melodramatic or preachy. For example, without spoiling too much, there's a whole sequence that's sort of about child protective services, while not literally being about that at all. This game walks a tough line, and I think it walks it well. Other games have done this sort of thing too, of course, but I've never seen a game ride this hard for this type of folklore and culture. It treats it with respect and care, which is rare. The closest thing I can compare it to is maybe the film Beasts of the Southern Wild. When it comes to the moment-to-moment gameplay, it's fairly standard, though well executed. This is a linear action-adventure game with melee combat. Explore an area, find upgrades, fight some monsters. You know what you're getting into. The fundamentals are solid and fun. They're just not trying to break any molds. Oh yeah, and this game is a musical. Actually, the soundtrack to this game is unreal. It's a combination of blues and folk and jazz. Man, don't sleep on South of Midnight, y'all. If you're in the mood for a well-made action-adventure game with some wonderful art direction, a thoughtful story, and an exploration into a culture not often seen in games, South of Midnight comes highly recommended. The more I think about Hades 2, the more I realize how much of it we take for granted. On paper, it shouldn't work. Hades 2 looks and feels a lot like Hades 1. It's a roguelite. It's got some fun takes on Greek mythology. It has fast and frantic action. It is endlessly customizable. Everyone is hot. Melinoi, the player character, will traverse the same few environments and fight the same few bosses over and over again. She only has a handful of basic actions at her disposal. It should get stale after a bit, right? Yet it never does. Each run of Hades 2 is a completely new experience. If she crosses paths with one of the Olympians, she can receive a boon that augments one of her abilities. Stacking boons on top of each other can make it feel like you're exploiting the game's systems, but that's all by design. No 2 runs will be the same. It's the perfect amount of luck and strategy. Each attempt takes approximately an hour, depending on how far you get. While it's disheartening to lose on a promising run, that time doesn't feel wasted. Certain items unlock new stat boosts, new weapons, new amenities, new accessories, new story stuff, new everything. Each edition will reinvent how the player approaches their next attempt. After every attempt, failed or otherwise, there is something new to unlock. Hades 2 introduces new mechanic after new mechanic, yet they all synergize wonderfully. Everything slots neatly into the well-balanced tower and it never topples over. I have no idea how. This also applies to the story as well. The home base will slowly become more populated with new characters, each with their own arcs that complements Melinoe's quest to save her family. Hades 2 feels like more Hades, while feeling like a brand new experience. It adopts a simple system filled with endless complexities. The action is frantic yet strategic. It feels like you're making progress, despite it sending you back to the beginning each time. This is the perfect game to have on standby. It's fun to pick up and try again with a new combination of buffs and boons. I've had this game loaded up on my Steam Deck for months now, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Okay, let me see if I have this right. You're a demon made of glass who skateboards through the layers of the underworld to reach each layer's moon and then eat it. The demon helps strange characters and/or defeats hellish monstrosities by using ollies, kickflips, and the like. Despite its unassuming title, Skate Story is one wild, surreal ride through a vaporwave adjacent hell. It mixes gorgeous lighting effects with charming lo-fi aesthetics to create one of the best-looking games of the year. The visuals aren't just for show, though. When the action gets going, the bold colors and shapes help communicate what obstacle is ahead and what skateboarding move is needed to overcome it. The skating feels nice. It delivers a real sense of speed, making the player feel like they're just slightly out of control. I'll admit, my experience with skateboarding games is limited to playing at friends' houses growing up, and even then we played with every single cheat code on. While I can't compare it to other games that feature the sport, I will say that Skate Story feels good and intuitive. It does a great job at drip-feeding the player new moves as the skater's journey continues. Skate Story is structured more like an action-adventure game as opposed to a sports one. The skater traverses a series of skate park-inspired worlds, each with their own unique objectives. Sometimes this manifests as a quick, linear gauntlet to test reflexes. Other times it involves racking up a large combo by doing a large, unbroken series of tricks, or performing a series of actions in a specific order, or winning a boss battle. Each new challenge is thrilling, aided by the thumping soundtrack and the wild visuals. It always keeps the player on their toes. Like a lot of great action games before it, Skate Story has a low barrier to entry and a high skill ceiling. Making it through the game isn't too tough. If you shatter, you're only one button press away from respawning. I wanted to improve, not because of some high score or external validation, but because this game feels so good once you get that momentum going. Skate Story is weird, but it's not just weird for the sake of being weird. Behind all its surrealism, Skate Story gets at what it's like to exist as an outsider, what happens after you make a pact with skateboarding. There will be those that try to stop you from skating. Will you let them? It's tempting to describe Ludo by comparing it to other games like PT and the Stanley Parable, but doing so would undercut what makes Ludo special. It transcends those similarities to create a mental maze I got so incredibly lost in. Ludo is a game about grief. The player character wakes in a bathroom. All he needs to do is grab his keys and go to work. He'll get around to unpacking soon, just right now he needs to get out of the house. But this house is harboring secrets. This house won't let him escape. This is a horror game that only has a few tame jump scares, no grotesque imagery, and nothing chasing after you. And yet, it is one of the most effective horror games I have ever played. Progress in Ludo is made by solving contextual puzzles. Believe me when I say that these puzzles are difficult. Well, maybe difficult isn't the right word. They're uncompromising, they're opaque, they're inscrutable. It's unclear what exactly you're supposed to do, and yet they support the game's story in such a succinct, beautiful, and heartbreaking way. The player will have to roam across these corridors that don't make geometric sense. They'll have to find connections all over the place. Anything in any corner could be a clue. Ludo puts the player in the same mental space as the character they play as. Once I was able to wrap my head around the game's grammar, I was thinking in ways I had never thought before. Midway through, I felt like I was losing my mind. There are so many twists and turns, I don't even know how to fully explain it without spoiling everything. Once I made it to the other side, the horror melted away to reveal its emotional core. I am still reeling from its ending months later. Ludo is a testament to the power of games as a storytelling medium. It made me think and feel a certain way. To make it through, the player has to let their mind get lost in its labyrinth. If you're more into the psychological side of horror and don't mind feeling stumped and or ugly crying, Ludo comes highly recommended. In the year of our Lord 2025, a turn-based RPG from an unknown team captured the cultural zeitgeist and never let go. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 was, and still is, a phenomenon. From its opening moments, it announces that we will all be in for something special. This game borrows from many RPGs of old, yet doesn't feel obligated to follow their formulas. This game does so many things, it's wild. In battle, each party member has their own mechanics that are unique to them. There is no overlap in their skills whatsoever. Yet the different abilities create beautiful synergies with one another. Also, I love how this game pretty much fixes magic points and consumable items. Neither are finite in the traditional sense. The player is discouraged from just using their basic attack at every turn and encouraged to try new things. Too good to use disease has been cured. Defensive moves are important as well. Each enemy attack can either be dodged or parried, and the timing windows can get a little funky. Like in another game on this list, it was a common occurrence to get to a new area, get stomped, learn the attack patterns, then clean house. It's fitting that a game with two titles has two identities. One is a linear turn-based RPG with a complex battle system and a unique take on the man versus god framework. The other is an open-world adventure that rewards quick reflexes and is a somber exploration into what it means to lose someone you love. These two identities complement each other, though they do have a tendency to sometimes get in each other's way. Exploration is encouraged, but only until you run off the intended path and get stomped by a foe you weren't supposed to fight yet. The dodge parry system is thrilling in standard fights, but some bosses lean so heavily on them they undermine all the juicy complexities of that battle system. There are also some serious pacing issues in the back third and a major character that I never warmed up to. There are also platforming sections, and a whole social ranking thing, for some reason. I think my few complaints stick out because this game does so many incredible things. I suppose its reputation overshadows it a bit. I was expecting the life-changing experience so many people reported to have, and instead got a gorgeous, inventive entry in a genre I love. Boo-hoo. There isn't any other game taking this many risks at this scale. It's crazy just how many big swings it takes and how many of those swings are home runs. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is maximalist in every possible way. This is what happens when a passionate team puts everything they like into a single title. I hope this game continues to send shockwaves to the people who make games, the people who sell games, and most importantly, the people who play them. In the lead up to its release, Silksong had become something of an urban legend, a cryptid in game form perhaps. What could it possibly be? When it came out, it was like, oh, it's more Hollow Knight. Sweet. But as it unfolded, Silksong revealed itself to be so much more than we could have ever imagined. Silksong is filled with these sorts of juxtapositions. It is a bleak, hopeless world filled with cute little bug guys. It is simultaneously easy to get hopelessly lost in its interconnected map, and easy to figure out generally where to go. It is brutally difficult, while rarely feeling unfair. Hornet, the player character, is a joy to control. There's a greater emphasis on platforming this time around, and the way she jumps and dashes and grabs stuff, it just feels predictable and satisfying. Silksong contains some of the most delectable platforming sequences I've seen since Celeste, and that's saying something. The combat is what steals the show, though. Hornet's nimble nature combined with the well-telegraphed enemy attacks will turn you into a ballerina out for blood. I kept going to a new area or engaging with a new boss and getting stomped immediately. I would think, I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do this. But after a few attempts, that uncertainty turned into a stubborn confidence. Oh, that's how you do this. Damn it, I know I can do this. Oh, I did it. This happens all the time in Silksong. That being said, some runbacks are more irritating than they need to be, some quests are overly cryptic, some gauntlets turn up the difficulty past the point of enjoyment. Oh my god, why are there two of them? But once you hit that flow state, you will be shocked at the things you will find your Hornet capable of. There are so many surprises in this game, secrets to find at every turn, monstrosities hiding inside every shadow. If you think there's a secret behind a wall, it might be an upgrade, it might be a trap, it might be a whole new realm to explore and conquer. There's only one way to find out. Silksong requires patience and is a hefty time and energy commitment, but it is so rewarding to untangle its web. It starts innocently enough. In the summer before her senior year of high school, Jenny is invited to a beach party. Her crush will be there. She has to snag his attention. Her mirror reflection tells her to go on a diet, so she does. Not only does Jenny have to balance what she eats, she has to deal with an overbearing family, keep her grades up, do a bunch of chores, exercise, and plan for the future. This probably sounds like it's too close to real life in order to be fun, but believe me when I say, Consume Me is one of the most elegantly designed games in recent memory. Jenny's mirror self will give her a set of seemingly impossible goals, and it's up to the player to accomplish them within a limited amount of time. The player has to maximize their time and Jenny's well-being by optimizing a series of tasks, which are presented as short little mini-games. Eating lunch is a spatial puzzle, exercising is a dexterity challenge, reading is a button masher. After you figure out how each task affects Jenny's well-being stats, it becomes possible to chain together tasks in a way that makes Jenny a self-improvement machine. It feels like a complex board game. If you enjoy tinkering with worker placement or engine building systems in games such as Agricola, Terraforming Mars, or Dominion, there's a lot to chew on here. It's all in service of a much greater narrative about self-help. It's important to eat right, to stay active, build relationships, and do well at school. But how much is too much? When do these things that are ostensibly supposed to keep us healthy end up doing the exact opposite? How is it possible to reach these goals when the goalpost is constantly in motion? Consume Me portrays a familiar thought pattern. I'm not worthy of affection unless I do this, this, and this. If I mess up one thing, everything I've worked for will come crumbling down. If I break one cycle, I'll just get caught up in another. Every problem can be solved with aerobics, energy drinks, and missed bedtimes, can't it? As a warning, this game does tackle sensitive issues that may hit a little too close to home. And without spoiling anything, there's a stretch in the 5th chapter that makes it feel like the game has taken a sharp turn into something else, but stick with it. I promise that does pay off and isn't what it seems at first. Just like everything else in the game, it's complicated. Consume Me tackles these issues with heart, care, and humor. It might not be the escapist fantasy you'd expect from a late-night gaming session, but Consume Me is well worth your time. I said it in the video about award shows, but I'll say it again. One of the things I find fascinating about games is how multifaceted they are. Each game on this list has so much going on, from their mechanics, story, presentation, messaging. How is it possible to even compare these titles that are going for wildly different things? There was one game from this past year that shook me to my core. It spoke to me on such a personal level, it felt disarming. Regular viewers have probably already guessed what it is. For the top spot on this list, there was only ever one option. One of the things I'm discovering as I make more of these videos is how hard it is to talk about games I love. The Midnight Walk is a game filled with so many characters, so many stories, so many ideas, that to simply describe what makes it special would be a disservice. Nothing communicates the ideas of the Midnight Walk better than the work itself. This is a game where everything, and I do mean everything, supports its theme. The story is a collection of small fables all based around a central metaphor: fire. Each tale isn't as straightforward as it seems. The world is confusing and filled with uncertainties. The player takes control of a shambling figure known only as the Burnt One. He finds himself in a world that has been plunged into eternal night. He's pointed in the direction of a distant mountain and told to make it to the top. Along the way, he meets the real MVP, Potboy. He's an energetic furnace capable of setting stuff on fire. Plus, he's cute. The primary way the player progresses is by setting different things ablaze. Fire is used in a variety of contexts to solve puzzles and keep the burnt one safe. Each supporting character has their own relationship to fire, which is reflected in each chapter's gameplay. Exploring these relationships to fire is both fascinating and heartbreaking. Let's get this out of the way. The presentation. There have been a few games going for a stop-motion style, but the Midnight Walk takes the cake. Every character in the game was hand-sculpted and then 3D scanned into the engine. These character designs are out of this world. They are simultaneously grotesque and charming, much like the world they inhabit. This is a land filled with horrible monsters, despair, pain, and endless darkness. But what I appreciate about the Midnight Walk is how it understands that fixing a lot of these issues isn't easy. Someone can be set on the right path, but that's not the end. Healing is a long, difficult process. Change is scary. The Midnight Walk is a triumph. Its combination of hope and horror grabbed a hold of me and never let me go. Its ending broke me. After I finished it for the first time, I just had to lie on the floor for like an hour. We need to treasure those experiences whenever they happen. It happened to me with the Midnight Walk, and if it happened to you with any game this past year, be sure to hold that experience close to you. Art has a power nothing else has, and despite everything, no matter what happens, let's keep creating, keep exploring, and keep sharing these experiences with one another. I hope you have a great time in the coming year. Stay strong.